I need to let you guys in on a little secret. Now, this is just our secret, so just don't tell anybody, okay? But one of the things that's very important, the most important thing about having a website is the quality of the images that you put on it. When people in churches have ordered websites from us, they take a look at their website that they are wanting to order, and they order it. We set it up for them. That we get them started, and then a few months go by, and they start uploading their own images, and they're like, "Hey, my website doesn't look that good anymore." And they go back to my website, and they look at the template they bought, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, I like this template. How come my website doesn't look as good as theirs?" And come to find out, the quality of images that you put on your website is more important than the color scheme. It's more important than the fancy little slider you might have on the home page. It's more important than the navigation bar. It's more important than having great CSS work. All that said, it's really the most important thing that you need on the website is the high quality images. Now, with that said, you don't necessarily have to have a really expensive camera to be able to handle this, but what you do have to have is something that's good enough to be able to take really good high quality images. Now, what I'm going to show you in this tutorial are a few tricks of the trade, a couple of tricks of the trade that you might like, that's going to increase the quality of images that you're going to put on your website. So here goes some photography tricks. Now these are not hugely in depth. I'm going to stick my camera on auto the entire time. And if you want to learn more about your camera, you need to break out the manual or watch some other videos. This one's not for you, but I'm going to show you just a couple of tricks that could transform your picture taking just well enough to get something that you like. One thing to get started that you're going to need to know is that a professional photographer is going to come out and they're going to take several hundred photographs. In fact, a regular professional photographer, if they're looking for a single image, will take anywhere from 50 to 100, sometimes up to 200 images just to get one that they like. And that means that if you are shooting an event and you take a picture and it comes out that picture was not good enough for you, well, don't be too surprised, because a professional photographer could take up to 200 pictures just to get the one they want. Now, if you are shooting in film, I know that you are laughing at me because you only get one, maybe two shots. Otherwise, it becomes very expensive for you. And real photographers, yes, I know, should be shooting in film, but because of the digital age, we're able to take all these photographs and delete them, delete the bad ones that we don't want anymore. One of the first things I want to show you is when shooting architecture, indoor or outdoor, one of the things you want to do is keep your lines going straight up and down. You don't want your camera tilted. And sometimes it's hard to see outside of the viewfinder of your camera. But I want you to notice here how this church here, when we tilt it, it looks a little off. But when it's lined up perfectly, you see the roof line of it going straight left to right. You also see the columns, the walkway going straight up and down, and that's very important. The sides of the building there are going straight up and down as well. Again, sometimes it's really hard to see when you're looking outside the viewfinder or looking at the camera screen. But make sure your camera is level and take notice of that. The second thing I want to show you is what we call the rule of thirds. And what I want you to do is imagine a line or two lines that are dividing your screen into thirds. Okay, so they're dividing it. There's one on the top and one on the closer to the bottom, and it's dividing the screen into thirds equally. Also, let's do that from the left to the right. So we have two more lines going from the left to the right, and now we have 9 boxes that are of equal size. This is what we call the rule of thirds. And what we want to do is line up our lines according to the rule of thirds. This is how most pictures go from amateur to professional, right here, by using the rule of thirds. Take a look at this picture that we have here. This is of the church building. We have the bottom of the church building on the lower third, and then we have that steeple going up to the top of the third, just allowing that sky to be blue, the clouds to be white, and you're getting a good whiteout version of that of the church. It really helps the church kind of just blossom right out there, giving a good aspect of the church. Another thing to take notice is try to be conscious of what your eye sees in post. while you're there live. So while I was filming this, I didn't notice this, but if you look to the right of that building, it's the eye-catching image or object of the image is those air conditioners. I didn't even see the air conditioners when I was there live, but now I'm posted. All I can see is those air conditioners. And so that happens a lot. When you're shooting live, be careful of the things that you see, because you might not notice the air conditioners that are jumping out there. And then when you get back, you're like, oh, wow, all I see is air conditioners. So be careful of that. I've never noticed it before, but the steeple to our church is not going exactly up and down. It's actually kind of slanted just a little bit. Something I've never noticed before, but in the viewfinder of a camera, you should notice it. So with all pictures of architecture, you want to get the lines going straight up and down. And what we also want to do with that steeple is we want to make sure those lines get on our thirds. So our little invisible lines that's dividing the screen, we don't want that steeple to be in the middle. We want to kind of skew it off to the left or skew it off to the right. But we also want to make sure that steeple's going up and down and not slightly slanted. So that's one good way of taking a real good steeple shot. In this next shot, I want to introduce you to 3 different types of pictures that you'll be taking. One is the context shot. Another is the event shot, and the third is the emotions shot. Now, it's important that you get all 3. Take a look at this picture right here. This is what we call a context shot. This is our Pastor Jason, and I'm glad he was able to help me out. But this picture is not about Pastor Jason. This picture actually is about the church building with Jason in front of it. So this picture, the subject of it, the main subject is the church building itself. It's not about the person that's in front of it. Now, when we're shooting for photography, it's important to understand this, because do you know how like colors will bring out emotions? Red and yellow will make you hungry. Different colors, pink will make you calm, and all these colors have these emotions. Well, this picture right here, when people see it and they don't relate to the people, if they don't know who the people are, they're going to be looking at your church building. They're not actually looking at the person. They're not analyzing the person, but right now they're looking at the windows and the roofs, and they got a steeple with some trees behind it, and so they're not actually looking at the person. This is called a context picture. Now, also, if you noticed, like when you're watching TV, the camera will have it will show a picture of the building the people are in first before they show the people inside the building, because it brings context of where they are before they bring in what's going on. The second image that we have here is Pastor Jason in front of the door. Now, this is what we call an event picture, which means it's closer up. We still got him about belt high, and so this is kind of showing us what's going on. So in the picture before, we have where this event is happening, and now we're getting more about what he's doing. So now he's standing in front of the door. So if you're getting pictures of people walking in through the door, then this is about where we want it to be. We want to see close-up pictures of what people are doing. So this is what we call the event picture. Now, if you want to capture something that has emotion, you got to get in tight. You got to catch in real tight. Now, this picture is also very important to get, this emotion picture, because with this emotion picture, you're communicating to the people who are viewing your pictures how people feel. Where before, the event picture is just what are they doing, and so now we need to get how they feel. So all 3 of these pictures are very important. Here goes a little FYI for your next vacation photos. Have you ever noticed how when you take vacation photos and you bring them back, you're showing them to everybody, you're like, yeah, but there's something missing. How come my vacation photos never really reflect what's going on? And the reason of that is because we always get the event photos, right? We get here's somebody standing in front of a boat, and here is another person standing in front of a big rock. And so what we're never capturing is the events. We're not capturing the emotions, and the emotions are captured tight. It's where you can see into their eyes, when you can see through their eyes. That's what we're capturing when we're getting the emotions. We want to see all the reflexes going on in the face. That's the only way you can capture all those emotions. And so the event is the wide out, knees up if you can. That's where we capture what's going on, but that does not capture emotions. Even if the person's jumping up in the air and screaming hallelujah, that's not capturing the emotions. What you want is this close up right there on the face. Let's talk about staff pictures real quick. A lot of churches are doing something that's very creative with their staff images, and that's really neat. I'm glad that they're able to do something that's creative. But one problem that we have with creative staff photographs is that whatever you do, you have to reproduce. So if a new staff member comes on board, how do you get that image with all of them? How do you add that image back on the scene? And you got to make sure it all looks the same, all that kind of stuff. So what I want to show you here is one of our most favorite images for staff. We're doing the with the staff member in the sanctuary with the blurred out background. So how am I going to do this? First thing you need to do is raise your tripod. If you have one, you at least want it to get eye level, even if you're not using a tripod. It's always good to use a tripod if you're indoors or in low lighting, because that shutter stays open so much longer. You want to get all that light in there without making it look blurry. So what I'm doing here, I'm just lining Mr. Jason up eye level, but we don't have that blurry background. So how do we get that blurry background? We're going to move way back. Way back. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, right there. Yes, and we're going to zoom in. You see the blurry background now? We have Mr. Jason there, Pastor Jason, in focus with the blurry background. And everything's all tightly squeezed back there with that zoom action going on. Everything. Oh, let's go back even further. There we go. There we go. And we get that nice action. We get them set up. It's kind of an emotional picture. We're showing him tight, or we can zoom it back a little bit, get an event picture. Let's get a little further back, a little further back. There we go. Keep going. There we go. Now zoom way in. And there we go. We have him built high. This is an event image with that blurry background right back there in the back. And that can always be reproduced. When you are taking pictures of people, it is very important that you keep the rule of thirds in play. If you take a look at this picture right here, what we have here is Pastor Jason again sitting down. But this is not a picture of Pastor Jason. It's a picture of a bland wall. And the reason why it's a picture of a bland wall is because there's more wall than there is Pastor Jason in this image. So this is not a very good image of Pastor Jason, and it's not reflecting exactly what you want it to reflect. So what is it that the pros are going to do? Well, what the pros are going to do is they're going to line Mr. Jason right up with the top of the thirds. And so what we're going to do is just move our camera down just a little bit and at least get his eyes on the top of the thirds line. When we do that, that's going to immediately start straightening things up. And then as we can move our zoom in or whatever we want to do, we want to keep him on the top of the thirds. Okay, taking a look at this picture, do you see what we did? You see how much better this image automatically looks. Instead of taking a picture of the person's head that's right in the middle of the screen, what we want to do is put those eyeballs right there on the top of the thirds line, and that's how we're going to frame this image. Now look, as I even move it down just a little bit and put his eyes right there in the middle of the frame, it doesn't look as good. Why? Just a simple movement of that is what the pros are doing. And that's what kind of marks it off between amateur and professional, is using a good rule of thirds. And I can even move him over to make him on the right side of the rule of thirds and kind of give him a better framing.